Hello, hello, and welcome to another short story. Today, before we plunge into the darkness with some creepy and spooky Halloween stories, because, well, next week is already the end of September, and to me, the end of September always marks the beginning of Halloween. So before we plunge into the darkness, here is another short satire. This time, it's a story by O. Henry that catapults us back in time to the medieval country of Zembla. This is a story about knights and about jousting, about a beautiful princess, and the one thing that's apparently all we need, and that makes the world go round. And if you think the one thing that we all need and that makes the world go round might be the big L, then you might be correct, or you might be incorrect. I don't want to give you any spoilers, but will only say that the twist ending of this fantastic and also pretty hilarious short story surprised me and made me chuckle. Lean back and enjoy The Prisoner of Zembla by O. Henry. So, the king fell into a furious rage, so that none durst go near him for fear, and he gave out that since the Princess Ostler had disobeyed him, there would be a great tourney, and to the knight who should prove himself of the greatest valour, he would give the hand of the princess. And he sent forth the herald to proclaim that he would do this. And the herald went about the country, making his desire known, blowing a great tin horn and riding a noble steed that pranced and gambolled. And the villagers gazed upon him and said, "Lo, that is one of them tin-horn gamblers, concerning which the chroniclers have told us." And when the day came, the king sat in the grand stand, holding the gauge of battle in his hand, and by his side sat the Princess Ostler, looking very pale and beautiful, but with mournful eyes, from which she scarce could keep the tears. And the knights which came to the tourney gazed upon the princess in wonder at her beauty, and each swore to win, so that he could marry her and board with the king. Suddenly, the heart of the princess gave a great bound, for she saw among the knights one of the poor students with whom she had been in love. The knights mounted and rode in a line past the grandstand, and the king stopped the poor student who had the worst horse and the poorest comparisons of any of the knights, and said, "Sir Knight, prithee, tell me of what that marvellous shaky and rusty-looking armour of thine is made." "Oh, king," said the young knight, "seeing that we are about to engage in a big fight, I would call it scrap iron, wouldn't you?" "Odds bodkins," said the king, "the youth hath a pretty wit." About this time, the Princess Ostler, who began to feel better at the sight of her lover, slipped the piece of gum into her mouth and closed her teeth upon it, and even smiled a little, and showed beautiful pearls with which her mouth was set. Whereupon, as soon as the knights perceived this, 217 of them went over to the king's treasurer and settled for their horse feed and went home. "It seems very hard," said the princess, "that I cannot marry when I choose." But 2 of the knights were left, one of them being the prince's lover. "Here's enough for a fight anyhow," said the king. "Come hither, all knights. Will ye joust for the hand of this fair lady?" "We joust will," said the knights. The 2 knights fought for 2 hours, and at length the princess's lover prevailed and stretched the other upon the ground. The victorious knight made his horse caracole before the king and bowed low in his saddle. On the Princess Ostla's cheek was a rosy flush, in her eyes the light of excitement, wide with the soft glow of love. Her lips were parted, her lovely hair unbound, and she grasped the arm of her chair and leaned forward with heaving bosom and happy smile to hear the words of her lover. "You have foughten well, Sir Knight," said the king, "and if there is any boon you crave, you have but to name it." "Then," said the knight, "I will ask you this. I have bought the patent rights in your kingdom for Schneider's celebrated monkey wrench, and I want a letter from you endorsing it." "You shall have it," said the king, "but I must tell you that there is not a monkey in my kingdom." With a yell of rage, the victorious knight threw himself on his horse and rode away at a furious gallop. The king was about to speak when a horrible suspicion flashed upon him, and he fell dead upon the grandstand. "My God!" he cried. "He has forgotten to take the princess with him."